What's going on, everybody? I want to welcome you back to Knicks Deli, baby. I am your host, Cheer, and you already know we are first to many and second to no one when covering the news, team views, and the who's who connected to our New York mother flipping Knicks. Yeah. Yes. And if you didn't know, you know right now.
Knicks Deli Edition.
This is Knicks Deli Edition. Okay? So I want to welcome you. If you're here for the first time, I want to thank you for joining us. We got a great show tonight. So I want you to sit back, relax, enjoy yourself. And if you like what you see, you like what you experience, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Now, if you're returning to the channel, my KD community, you already know. Welcome back, baby.
We circling the block. We spinning the block.
As always, we circling the block and we spinning the block. You already know we roll deep. I want to thank you for being patient. I've been away for a little bit, but every time we get together, it's a mother flipping party. So I celebrate you. I celebrate you. Now, you know you can't have those people who support you unless you have those people who don't. And we call them the ops. We see you. We know you in the comment section, commenting and sectioning. You ain't got to be quiet. We welcome you too, goddammit. We welcome you to Knicks Deli. All right, but I got a great show. Where my music at? Hold on for a second. I'm going to get into this, but we're going to have a little bit of fun tonight. There's a couple of topics that's been on my mind I really wanted to get at, and I think now is the time to do so. So I want to thank y'all. Thank y'all for being with me. We're going to do this thing as we always do, to the point. We're going to get our points across, and we might have to get at some people in the whole process. All right. Now, you know, I don't really do anything unless I give a shout out first and foremost to my top 5 here at Knicks Deli. Top 5, dead or alive, goddamn right. And I'm going to do this real quick. This is always a shout out to 5 of the members of the KD community for sticking with me, rocking with me. And the top 5 is going to be France Germain, Latay Israel, Lamort McCleave, Patrick Shelton, and last but not least, special shout out to Mrs. Sam Brunson. Who kindly left a nice little comment on the YouTube short that I did about Jalen Brunson and his sock story. So shout out to Mrs. Sam Brunson, and the rest of she is top 5. All right. So, KD community, I wanted to get into it, but I have a couple of I think they're unique topics. You may have seen these topics that have been floating on Twitter throughout the week. Well, I didn't see them, goddammit. So I'm addressing them for the first time, okay? But it's just a couple that really caught my eye and caught my interest that I want to get into. And first off, the first topic that I want to get into is connected to the New York Knicks, right? And the fact that it seems, where's my topic at? The fact that it seems that the NBA is beginning to show focus on the talent that is on the New York Knicks, all right? Now, you take it how you can get it. Pause. You take it how you can get it. But I'm going to get into this because it's something that I've pointed out in past videos that I've done. All right? Past videos where I said, look, the NBA really gambled on who would be the next stars once LeBron James leaves and he retires. And all of those All-Stars and all of those Hall of Famers, future Hall of Famers, who were and during the time that LeBron is here, they're all getting old. They're all on the other side of the mountain. They are all in the same boat where the sun is beginning to set on their careers. And usually the way it's worked in the NBA is there would be a star that would emerge. There would be a star somewhere that would emerge that would organically take the place of a LeBron James, of a KD, of a Steph Curry, okay? And it had appeared a few years back, at least when they were drafted, that two of those stars would be Ja Morant and Zion Williamson. But with recent events, the last few years, and there's still plenty of time for those two to get a grasp, mature, and take their rightful space that their talent had projected them to be in as faces of the league. It's still time for that. But with all of the recent occurrences with Zion and his off the court challenges and Ja Morant with the same, different type of challenges, but same off the court challenges. The NBA really had to take a hard look at itself. What are we going to do in the meantime? We don't have a standout star that's on deck. What are we going to do in the meantime? Well, let's look and see if we can do something to bridge that gap until a star actually emerges. Maybe there is a star team, or maybe there's a star embedded that we haven't been paying attention to on one of these teams. So enter the New York Knicks. Yeah, the same New York Knicks that you guys love so dearly, but also the same New York Knicks that many of us Knicks fans hypercritical on what their flaws are. All right? But one thing you can't deny is that 2 out of the last 3 years, we've made the playoffs. 2 of the last 3 years, you've seen that the team, no matter what was going on behind the scenes, really played hard for this coach that many could argue in the second season was thinking that he had lost the ear of the team. All right? But what we've seen, especially, and it started in the first season, is the upward trajectory, the upward projection of the New York Knicks back into the spotlight, back into the era of competitive basketball. That's something that you can't ignore, especially if it's in the larger goddamn market in the league. The largest market in the league. So you can't ignore that, and you understand clearly that the commissioner didn't ignore that. So it really started when Julius emerged, right? And he was able to make his first All-Star game while in a New York jersey. And that excitement hit the New York market. And then in that same All-Star weekend, Obi Toppin was able to go out for the slam dunk contest still. So now that New York is winning, we got to find a way to put them in front of the screen because they know New York is going to draw eyeballs to the league, to the television. They know that. And there was a little bit of ho-hum on the negative side. The New York Knicks still was able to draw eyeballs to the screen even when we lose. But the same thing is happening now with the type of season that we had and the impact that Julius Randle, that Jalen Brunson, that these New York Knicks had on their season and where they were able to strive to, even though we fell short, still 2 out of 3 years, officially known to have turned the season around, and the expectation now has been raised. But in the meantime, even mid-season, they recognize the efforts of these New York Knicks by not only having Julius Randle get selected as an alternate on the All-Star team, but also selecting Jericho Sims to take part in the slam dunk contest at the recommendation, or at least he name dropped it, Ja Morant. And then you had Quentin Grimes as one of the rising stars, and he showed himself to be one of the rising stars, who would have been MVP had the East won the game. Had or the sophomores, whoever he was part of, had they won the game, he would have been MVP of that game. Silky smooth jump shot on display. They didn't even know the man's name and his background. They were speaking in generalities about that young man, but he showed off and he represented the city well. And all of that is another notch in the belt of the New York Knicks organization. And it's dollar signs in the eyes of the commissioner in the NBA. You know where the New York Knicks are going. You know that the front office is different. They're moving strategically. They're actually building a house that has a strong foundation and not a house of cards. And they're trying to find a way to latch on that mother flipper. And that's what you see. That's what you see when the NBA goes out and they select Jalen Brunson to be the starting point guard for Team USA. That's what you see when you see Josh Hart get selected to join him on Team USA. That's what you see when the announcement is made that Quentin Grimes has been selected to play on the USA Select team. And that select team, as we all know, will be a team full of alternates in the case that something happens to any of the players that are on Team USA. But it'll also be a team that battles and practices Team USA so that they're best equipped to take on and challenge the rest of the world in the competition, especially the rest of the world having caught up to the NBA in terms of talent and stars. So it's good to see, Knicks fans. Be proud of your squad. Be proud of your squad, every single one of them. Every single one of them, because what it is now is we've caught the attention of the NBA. Even the fellow players around the league. I feel like Khaled. I feel like DJ Khaled. LeBron James will sit out there and all the LeBron James fanboys will talk about, oh, he don't get the respect amongst his peers. This is not a fairy tale. If the New York Knicks fan knows nothing else, they know that respect is not given, it's earned. None of them want to give us respect. We take it. We take it as we've taken it this past season. They do their best to try to criticize. Or New York Knicks fans feel as if they won a championship because the team fell whatever many games short of the Eastern Conference Finals. Say what you will. There were teams who were long eliminated before we played our last game. But pay attention, because they're paying attention now. Not only to our team, but to our organization. Not only to our organization, but to the god doggone fan base as well. So shout out to the NBA. Finally recognizing what it is that we've seen and we've been talking about for a number of years now. Our young players got talent, and if nothing else, where their talent is hitting a ceiling, there's a certain level of discipline and organization and structure that'll have us competing in June again next year. So shout out to the NBA, shout out to our New York Knicks. The next point that I wanted to point out and talk about is the fact that our guy, Brock Aller, shout out to Brock Aller, is getting respect around the mother flipping NBA. Yes. For all of you Tom Thibodeau haters, listen to me clearly, okay? You don't gotta be the greatest of fan. You already know I'm part of Tibbs Mafia. You already know it. You already know I take Tibbs tablets and wash it down with positivity, water. And I feel much better in the morning every time I do. But you already know, okay, where I stand when it comes to Tom Thibodeau. But something he said very early on, he said this in Chicago, he said it when he arrived in New York. When you win, that's when all of the stuff comes with it. You can't just barely make it in. You can't have a subpar type of season, or you can't have a losing season like we did the season prior to this. Even though you may have singular individual accolades, they still won't respect you. Tom Thibodeau has said time and time again, the moment you win consistently in this league, everything else takes care of itself. All-star selections take care of themselves. All NBA selections take care of itself. When you win in this league, all of that stuff comes. The proof was in the pudding when he was in Chicago and you had Derrick Rose in consideration for MVP. Or when Rose went down and you had Joakim Noah in consideration for Defensive Player of the Year. And even that season where he was in consideration for MVP because of the role that he played when the adjustment had to be made because Rose had gone down. All of those things count, but all of those eyeballs lock in on your team when you're showing you're capable, you're competent, and you're competitive in this league. And it doesn't stop with the players. It does not stop at the players. When you show that you're capable of winning on the floor, then everybody eats here at Knicks Deli. Everybody eats on the team that's winning on the floor. And this is what we see right now. If you guys haven't noticed it yet, there was a report put out by Yahoo, an article, and the article talked about the fact that NBA GMs and front offices around the league are really giving kudos and showing respect towards Brock Aller and the role that he has played in helping to get the New York Knicks back to respectability. The role that he has played in helping them manage the salary cap, to be able to make the moves and maneuver and to position themselves to be in a position where they can sit and wait for the opportunity once a superstar becomes available, that they'll be able to pounce on that opportunity and still be competitive. NBA teams are paying attention. They've expressed interest in him in the future for front office positions. The New York Knicks better pay attention. Because also one thing that happens when you win in this league is that people pay attention. So as much as that can be a positive, it can be a negative. Because other teams now see what it is that has been the best kept secret. They'll start paying attention to players on your team, and they'll get ready to throw him the bag the moment that opportunity presents itself. They'll start paying attention to the coaches on your team, and they'll start offering the bag to the coaches the moment that opportunity arises, and they start paying attention to the front office members of that team to see if they can poach them from your squad, add them to their squad. So hopefully one day they can turn their franchise around like they see it's been done in the largest, most pressurized market in the NBA. Yes. So the New York Knicks better think about ways to promote him, or think about what ways creatively to keep him satisfied with being in New York. One thing that they've been able to successfully do, we're going to get on that topic before the end of this show. They've been able to bring him here and have him make the level of impact that he's made. And you rarely know what he looks like. You barely know what he looks like. That man, along with Leon Rose, has been able to successfully hide at the largest city in New York, the city that never sleeps.
The city that never sleeps.
Yo, see, KD should have took notes. You want to take notes about how to come to New York, thrive, and then hide in the city? Look at Leon goddamn Rose. Look at Brock Aller. Look at the whole front office. That's how you do it. So shout out to our guy, Brock Aller. We are a better organization. We are a better franchise as a result of us successfully being able to poach him from Cleveland. So just like our players, we have to figure out and do everything that we can to be able to keep the talent that we have. Because until we get to where we need to go, we can't afford to lose anybody right now who's helped us get this far. We can't. Unless it's a stark difference in terms of improvement in the move that we make. And as you know, sometimes it's not overnight. Just like Brock Aller, it's not overnight that success will happen. It takes time, and then you see the fruit of the moves and the fruit of the seeds that you plant. When you decide not to give the full max of a contract to the player, or you find ways to structure these contracts in a way where maybe it's front-loaded or it's back-loaded, but it benefits your roster and your team and your GM's ability to be flexible and putting together a roster that's going to be competitive on the floor. All of that is a team effort. But he's VP of strategic planning, or strategery, like our former president would say. And he's done it well. He's done a great job. So join me in giving a round of applause to Brock Aller, please. Put your hands together for Mr. Brock Aller. We thank you, sir. We thank you. Real quick, let me give a shout out to those people in the chat. My guy, Big Task at Hand. What's up, man? What's going on? And let's go, Ashley Inc. 1. What's up, Wiz? How's it going, man? Shout out to you. Rock with me, rock with me. Yes, yes. So yeah, shout out to Brock Aller, man. I'm really happy to have him, man. So that was it. Brock Aller in that Yahoo article, giving him props across the NBA. The third topic that I wanted to touch on is actually the title of the video. The New York Knicks being Zen Masters. Being Zen Masters. Let's go. Now, I know it's a little bit of a dead part of the off season, right? It's the dog days of summer. Not much to be reported, not much going on. I think a lot of the major moves that have been made in free agency have been done, and people are still sitting here twiddling their thumbs with a little stick like the meme, poking at the New York Knicks, like, are you going to make a move? Or are you going to do something, right? But this particular point in the 5-year plan, the New York Knicks are actually Zen masters. We could do the collective, like woosah. The New York Knicks are actually Zen masters. Yo, what are you talking about, Sheer? What do you mean, Sheer? Well, listen. When was the last time the New York Knicks didn't have a draft pick? And at this point in the season, so far past the draft having taken place, New York Knicks are like, not really tripping about it. When was the last time at this point in the season when free agency and all of the free agents that switched teams and moved to other teams, and the KD in the season, but any other free agents who left and signed, KP with Boston or whatever have you, any of those moves that have been made. And the New York Knicks have not yet made an impactful move in free agency. No trades outside of a trade to get rid of a fan favorite. And the New York Knicks fans have not been stressed. That's the feeling in the fan base right now. A collective woosah has fallen upon the fan base. When was the last time that's happened? No draft pick. No free agency move as of yet. And there seems to be a sense of just calm across the board with the fan base. Nobody's calling for the head of the GM. Nobody is calling for the head of the team president. I mean, hell, we're going to talk about this point as well. Even media and everybody's just like, yo, where's Leon? Leon hasn't talked to the media in 2 years. You ain't getting that from the fan base. The New York Knicks, in addition to the progress they've made as a team, as an organization, as a franchise, have changed and raised the expectation of the team in terms of how we comport ourselves, how we carry ourselves. Oh yeah, we turn it on when it's time to get live. Goddamn, we'll circle the block if we need to.
We circling the block. We spinning the block.
Oh yeah, we'll do that. But yo, we in our full zen right now, and nobody's effing up our zen at all. And yeah, you gotta love it. You gotta respect it. You can't argue that the New York Knicks fans at this point in the season, with no draft pick, no free agency, we're in the off season. We are kind of like, right? I trust the front office enough to relax and see what it is that they got planned, because we've seen it. We've seen that when you sit back at first, I mean, we had to learn our lesson. We had to learn our lesson last summer when they didn't make a move during the draft. Free agency was hitting and we lost, what's his name? DeJounte Murray, to the Atlanta Hawks, because there was already pre-discussions with Trae Young. They were friends, and we felt bad about it. We felt New York Knicks ain't doing nothing. What are we doing? And then out of nowhere, we followed the plan. We got Jalen Brunson, but still that wasn't enough for us, because we was just like, well, he was a backup. Although he did well, we don't know what we're getting from him. And then next thing you know, boom, Donovan Mitchell became available. And the New York Knicks were engaged in talks. And then those talks led into the middle of August, towards the end of August. And although we didn't leave with that prize, it showed that we had did everything to position ourselves to be able to get him. We just were smart enough not to give up the farm for that man. But in addition to the front office, I think we can't say enough. The fact that we owe this ability to be zen-filled, even when we haven't had a draft pick this year, or we didn't make a move yet in free agency, is because we have a point guard, Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson is one of the primary reasons, in addition to our front office, that New York Knicks fans seem a little bit more calm, a little bit more filled with zen. We want to thank you, Mrs. Sam Brunson, because not only has Jalen Brunson successfully been able to help Julius Randle woosah, but God damn it, he helped the fan base woosah. He helped us all woosah. All right? To be able to have a player of his caliber show what he has showed in the largest market, on the biggest stage, where the jerseys are the heaviest and the lights are the brightest. And he scratched and clawed and carried the team on his back to do the best that he can to get this victory for us. The rest of the team just wasn't equipped to roll with him at that time. The fact that he showed no sweat in doing that in New York. One of the reasons he brings us in is because he brings free agents who are watching the possibility of playing in New York. He's bringing them in too. And Joel Embiid could now look at Madison Square Garden's lights and see, I can carry this as long as somebody else is there with me. Somebody who is clutch, somebody who has the ability to make the team better, somebody who is lightning focused and serious about his business, someone who's not going to drag down a team in any other way, but who is there to be a leader and raise up this team. That's what free agents are looking at. Jalen Brunson is bringing them in. Anyone of consequence who is considering or who will be in a position to come to New York, the conversations they're having with their agent is that we love the fact that Jalen Brunson's there as well. Bet on that. Even the NBA knows enough to select him. And Steve Kerr knows enough to say, we're going to be leaning on Jalen Brunson a lot and for Team USA in the FIBA games, because we respect what he brings as a leader, as a player who has an ability to bring other high caliber NBA players together to achieve a goal. It's going to say a lot. This is why every one of us, we got to be fixated on these FIBA games. We got to be cheering for these teams. Don't ignore this tournament because there ain't stars in there. Maybe there's going to be stars created as a result of being able to successfully win in this tournament. Get a high finish in terms of this tournament if we don't come away with the gold. We got to be number 2. It's going to be a lot to be said if Jalen Brunson is able to lead this team to the gold. Tell me how much that does for marketing, for any future free agents, their desire to want to come to the New York Knicks. We'll be changing the narrative. The New York Knicks are no longer going to be looked at as a losing franchise organization to these young players. These young players, they don't care about history. They don't study history. They care about the present. They care about what's hot. They care about what's popular and what's popping today. They have no desire to study history. As much as New York Knicks fans, we want to be knowledgeable. We want to talk about knowing knowledge of the game. They don't care about none of that. Even the ones coming out of New York right now. And that's going to work in our favor because they're not even going to look past 5 years ago. They're going to look at what they see now. They're going to see if Jalen Brunson has an ability to be a killer, as he showed when he was in Dallas playing in the playoffs, as he showed a couple of times with this playoff run, and hopefully as he's going to show when he's on the largest stage representing the country. They're going to say, do I want to play with that young killer? He's going to be known as one of the top 5 point guards in this league, and I want to be on the same team with him, flexing and helping bring New York to that next step. So with the single acquisition of a point guard, the New York Knicks really have positioned themselves well in the eyes of the NBA and the eyes of the world. Going from being just trying to be competitive for the wild card spot to not only making the playoffs, but falling 2 games short of the Eastern Conference. Now going into this season, we're going to be looked at as Eastern Conference title contenders. And as I predicted last season, that we would get to the conference finals and to the finals. Check me out a couple of summers back. I'm going to drop the post. I predicted that the New York Knicks would be champions by 24. I may be a little bit ambitious, but I made the look. This is what happens when you in these YouTube streets. God damn it! When you in these YouTube streets, your record is out there. So I'm standing on it. I said the New York Knicks are going to be the new Golden State Warriors in terms of how they built their team. But I predicted that 2024 will be the year we snatch that championship. And I'm sticking to it. Nostradamus, baby. I'm here. I'm standing on it. I'm standing 10 toes down on it. Okay? So the New York Knicks are now Zen masters. And we could thank Jalen Brunson for it, and we could thank the New York Knicks front office for it. So shout out to all of them as well. Okay? Shout out to them. Round of applause for them guys. Okay? What are y'all saying? What comments y'all got? Rattle these off real quick. My guy AP, what's up, my guy? What's going on, man? All right, really quick. Let me go back. I'm shouting out my people. I ain't even showing their comments. Big task at hand. Welcome, my guy. He says, Knicks Deli, let's get it. Hope all is well. Yes, sir. You already know. Yes, sir. My guy Wiz, Ash Inc. 1 says, salute, Shia. You always, you have way more confidence in the front office than I do. I know, my brother. I know. I don't know if I'm biased because I serve in a role of leadership, and I know how sometimes, man, it could be a challenging task when you have a plan and a vision for what it is that you're trying to do and where you're trying to go. But the people that you're leading who don't have all of the details because they have enough on their plate, you don't share all the details with them. Or if you do, it may leak out and it may disrupt your ability to get to the end game. So when you don't share with the people that you're leading, they don't know what's going on. So they're left to their own devices to try to figure out what it is you're doing. You know what I mean? And that could cause some disruption. That could cause some doubt. So I think my always giving them the benefit of the doubt is because that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, it's not fruitful for them to tell you exactly the direction they're going to go into because they're trying to get there. And there are 29 or 30 other teams listening every time you try to predict what your move was. That's how we lost Steph Curry. That is exactly how we lost Steph Curry. Because word got out that Mike D'Antoni wanted Steph Curry in that draft. Go back and check the tape. I said it on numerous other videos. The Golden State Warriors were not planning on taking Steph Curry until they did one last go around. They looked at their board and they said, the New York Knicks, the word is out that the New York Knicks are trying to plan on taking Steph Curry. And then the owner or the GM said, all right, circle back. Give me some video. Let's talk a little bit about this kid. What is this kid about? They already have Monty Ellis. So it wasn't about need for them. But because somebody in the organization with their big mouth, whether it was D'Antoni being obvious about whatever it is, it leaked out and it caused Golden State to take extra look at Steph Curry. And now you stuck with 2 point guards of the same size of a similar skill set. And the Golden State Warriors had to make a difficult decision about moving on from Monty Ellis. They almost traded Steph. But that's why it's important for them to stay tight to the vest. And we've already had a summer where they've proven that when they do that, you kind of see how it unfolded. And we were in a position to be able to negotiate and try to get Donovan Mitchell to the New York Knicks. And we see how it worked out for us. We would have been fully fleeced of all assets and young players had we acquiesced to what Danny Ainge was asking for. And then it got out that he was trying to fleece the Knicks. Come on, come on, Wiz. I need you to rock with me, Wiz. Rock with me. Shout out to you, my guy. Let's go, AP, what's up, man? AP says the first time in a long time we can actually say we had competent management. Shout out to you. I agree. Only took Dolan 23 years. Yo, you ain't lying. You ain't lying. I can't even be mad at that. I can't even be mad at that. Better late than never, though. 100% right. I thought Phil Jackson was going to be the guy. Really did. I did too, man. I did too. One thing that did give me a bad feel about Phil Jackson was when the word got out, before he even got introduced, that he turned Dolan down a few times. When Dolan was just like, yo, listen, come on, man, we need you to come to the Knicks. We know you could turn this thing around, whatever have you. Number one, when he said he wasn't going to coach, that had to be a sign right there. He said he is not in the coaching no more. He can't do it. His hips, his knees, all of that. We saw how he was walking. And then I heard that he turned it down like 2 or 3 times. But every time, Dolan was hitting him with an increase in the bag. I can't be mad at him. We mad at him because of how he destroyed and set back the organization like Isaiah Thomas did, falling asleep in workouts. But to his credit, there were a couple of things that he was either right on or he was a move away that could have changed the trajectory of the organization. First was when he had said Kristaps, well, first off, when he drafted Kristaps. Now, I know people will argue that he fell in the lap, but still he made the selection to draft Kristaps Porzingis. So that was a go. That was a win. But before he even stepped foot on the floor, he raised the doubts about Kristaps' durability in this league long term. He said big men from the waist down usually have issues, whether it's their knees, whether it's their feet, whether it's their hips. He said, so he doesn't know if Kristaps' core is strong enough to be able to make sure that he's durable to last in this league. So that was one thing that we look back on it now retroactively, he wasn't far off. And then next, once they begin to have problems, or when he missed that exit interview, Phil was ready to trade him. And the offer was on the table. Devin Booker, Kristaps Porzingis. And the word got out, which was what made Kristaps and his brothers extra mad, that Phil was close to pulling the trigger. And it was the Phoenix Suns that pulled it off the table, I think. Was it the Phoenix Suns or the New York Knicks? I don't know, but somebody got cold feet at the last minute. I think it was the Phoenix Suns, and pulled that deal off the table. We would have had Devin Booker. Kristaps would have been going. Knicks fans would have kind of been tight because Devin Booker wasn't who he ultimately became at that point. He was only a guard that had potential. He had an ability to score, but he wasn't Devin Booker at that time. So that was another point where we were just like, man, he was close in terms of Phil Jackson decisions. And lastly was when the word got out that he told Carmelo Anthony, if you ask me, if you want me to be honest and transparent, I think you should go somewhere and get a ring. I think you should go somewhere where they're competing for a championship. We will trade you there. He recommended that he sign to Chicago. Go back and I don't know if he I'm sorry. I don't want to lie on him. I don't know if he recommended that he go to Chicago to sign, but he said, I think you should go to a situation that's competing for a championship. We're nowhere near competing for a championship right now. And that's why I kind of felt, I'm a little bit salty about Carmelo, because there's too many instances where he showed examples of being selfish. And Chauncey Billups is a respected, player in this league. He's a respected veteran. He's a champion. But when he came out and he was just like, Carmelo was good winning 50 when we lost the game. His body language was all positive. He lifting everybody up, next time, as long as he got his 30 or 40 or 50. But we could win the game and Carmelo would get like 22 and his body language would be negative. And the piece about that was he was offended when Phil told him, I think you should go, search for a championship. How would Carmelo be seen by everyone in the NBA? How will Carmelo be judged by NBA history had he signed with the Chicago Bulls and joined Derrick Rose and Taj Gibson and Joakim Noah and possibly Jimmy Butler? I think they would have had a championship by now. He wouldn't have been the man on that team, but it would have been the same as as whether or not Detroit would have drafted Carmelo when he came out of the draft, as they should have. He would have had an opportunity to learn behind a veteran team, and he probably would have been a little bit more humble. And his career probably would have gone in a completely different direction had he came in and played with Rip Hamilton, Ben Wallace, Chauncey Billups. So I think Phil, I was expecting more from Phil, but he was close. He was close to some franchise-altering moments that probably would have reflected him better in the eyes of history after, he was gone. So I agree with you on that one as well. AP also says, the Knicks are waiting for something big. They know something's coming down the line. They've been too quiet for that reason. My brother, you are a mother flipping mind reader. You are a mother flipping mind reader. What point is that? Hold on for a second. All right, so I'm going to jump. You're going to make me jump to that point. I agree. And it's so funny because the NBA and the media, they're frustrated right now. They are frustrated right now. I think I don't know if it was Fred Katz. It could have been. But there was one reputable writer, he's a good writer, who reported he requested an interview with Leon Rose, and Leon Rose rejected his request for an interview. And he had to go and write a little bit of article about. He wrote an article about it, and he just talked about the fact that Leon Rose has not given an official interview in like 2 years. He's like, Leon Rose has not given an interview in 2 years. I remember when they tried to use Stephen A. Smith to try to embarrass the New York Knicks and to get, it's not that the organization, but I just don't like what Leon Rose is doing and shutting out the media. You should be responsible for talking to the media and letting us know and talking to about these decisions. No. You stay silent, Leon Rose. Real G's move in silence like lasagna, goddammit. I'm gonna tell you the reason why. I'll tell you the reason why he ain't talking to nobody. Because when he put together his team, you remember when he put together his team, whether it was Mike Woodson, whether he brought in people from the coaching staff and Tom Thibodeau, it was expected because they were friends that he would have a say in personnel. And then when he brought in Worldwide West to join his team, and then there was Scott Perry, a seasoned veteran GM, and he was doing this thing for the first time. Didn't they say it was too many voices? Didn't they say when he said, of course, if I'm in the meeting, we're around the table, he was defending himself in that interview with Alan Hahn, and Alan Hahn asked him, same question that was all over the media. People are saying it's too many hands in the pot. People are saying it's too many voices. What do you say to that? Leon Rose is just like, what are people talking about? But what are people talking about? You're supposed to surround yourself with people who are experts with what it is that they do. You're supposed to hear them out and hear their perspective, their unique perspective. There are things on their resume that ain't on yours. That's why you hired them for the role. And then you take what it is that they present, you consider it, you look at the situation, and you make the best decision. You are the decision maker at the end of the day, no matter what people offer up. And there may be an idea that somebody brings that you go with. That doesn't make you any less competent of a leader. It makes you, if nothing else, smart that you see what the best option that was put forth and you went along with it in the greater good of the direction of your organization. And they criticized that man for it. They called him, oh, this is what happens when you bring in somebody who doesn't have experience to lead your organization. James Dolan is messing up the team again. There he goes, bringing this inexperience, or they trying to be the Lakers. Well, Leon Rose is no Rob Pelinka. All of that criticism. So from that point on, this is what happens with introverts. You put them in a bullseye and empty the clip with every poor decision that he makes, he shuts up. So now I'm gonna let my actions do the talking. And that's where we are. Silence. But you see the production, you see the effectiveness. So why mess with what's working? Why mess with what's working? So yeah, Leon is killing them with silence. The media, the writers, killing them with silence. Misguided New York Knicks fans, killing them with silence. People are crying right now because the man won't give an interview. 2 years, you see where we are. You see what's happened, where we've come, how far we've come in 2 years. Let that man shut up. Let that man shut up. We will take it. Pause. Hey, yo. We'll take it. Let that man be quiet. Let that man be quiet. I love it. I love every part of it. All right? So shout out to you. Let me read these last two before I get into my next point. Big Task at Hand says, sorry, but I have to ask, Terrence Crawford or Errol Spence? My God. Man. That is one of the reasons why I wanted to move back to New York, man. It was a tradition that I watched. Super fights with my pops, regular boxing with my pops as well. But these type of fights, man, I'm going to be watching with my pops tomorrow. Bruh, that is a call. Listen, throw your T's in the chat if Terrence Crawford is going to win. Throw your E's in the chat if Errol Spence is going to win. Good Lord. Man, I'm going to have to go with Errol Spence. As much as I hate the Dallas mother flipping Cowboys, I'm going to have to go with Earl. Both of them are killers, boy. And it's, you're not going to, it's not going to be a good day if you bet against either one of them, but it's going to be a heck of a fight. One of my very first fights, I had no idea what was going on. I just was feeling the vibe off of the elders that was in the room while we was watching. My very first fight, I remember we ordered it on pay-per-view. It's a big deal. And I sat there and I watched it, was Hagler versus Hearns. Yeah. Bro, I came up in a great era, man. We saw all the greats. If you part of Gen X, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to crap on Gen Z or whoever else, or millennials. Listen, man, Gen X, man, we had the greats. Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Muhammad Ali, we didn't see, but I'm rhyming, but listen, man, we've been able to see greatness. But one of my first exposures to greatness was watching that Hagler Hearns fight. And I was pulling for Hagler. Man, and I felt the hurt I was paying attention. I felt the hurt that everybody else felt when he lost that fight. So I'm going with Errol Spence, man. You got me on record saying it. But throw your T's in the chat if you're going for TC. Terrence Crawford, throw your E's in the chat if you're going for Errol Spence as well. Great question. Great question. We cover everything here at Knicks Deli. Okay, everything.
Knicks Deli Edition. Everybody eats.
Here at Knicks Deli. Yo, next comment we got. Okay, hold on. Get back. So we got AP. AP also says, I think the Knicks really exposed Phil Jackson. Only coached teams that had world-class talent already on the team. Look, we can talk about that. We can absolutely talk about that 100%. We're going to do that another time, though. But I agree. And hey, people will say that about this king. People will say that about this king as well. Okay? But that's a great point as well. We got my guy David Smith in the chat. Let's go. David says, Knicks going nowhere with the coach and front office. Let's go. Friend or foe, we want the smoke. This team is not going to win a championship with this coach and front office and roster 50 years since last title. Getting embarrassing. David Smith came in here, guns a-blazing. Listen, man, we don't poo-poo people's opinions. You may be right. But one thing that can't be argued is a better brand of basketball that we're enjoying than we did many points, especially recently, the past 50 years. And I'm not saying I'm settled on that. I'm not saying I'm accepting that. I'm saying we are a player or two away from the championship. You can agree with me or not. Things change. Things change real quick the moment you get a superstar, you get a megastar on your team. Everything smells better. It covers the stench of any mediocrity because now Ty Lue is considered a good coach. Ty Lue is considered a good coach. What's this coach that's in Sacramento? He's doing this thing now. Mike, whatever his last name, Mike. I'm thinking Woodson, but I know it's not Mike. It's Mike something, who's in Sacramento right now. He was considered a good coach as long as you had LeBron James on your team. Phil Jackson, considered a good coach as long as you have Kobe, Shaq, MJ, Rodman, or you're the Zen master now. So don't let Tom Thibodeau get a Giannis. I mean, the coach that won the championship, he gone in Milwaukee. But he will forever be considered a championship coach. Don't let me start on Popovich, who had David Robinson, and then when he went down, tanked the season for Tim Duncan. You had a Hall of Famer join a Hall of Famer. And then you brought in other players who were Hall of Fame level. And everybody want to call him the good. Come on, man. Are we serious? Yeah, he had that competitive year, that 1 year, but that's exactly where he would have been had he not had those Hall of Famers. He'd have been Tom Thibodeau. So before you talk about this front office and before you talk about the, Tom Thibodeau, we ain't gonna win nothing. Listen, you win championships with championship players. You win championships with championship players. And what they're doing is they're positioning ourselves to be in position to get a championship player. Is it Embiid? I don't know. But what I will tell you is don't get an Embiid and still have Julius and still have Brunson on a team. You have to ask yourself, is that better than the trio of a Ben Simmons and Jimmy Butler? Probably not. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if Embiid is that piece. Giannis, with his age and his mindset and his ability, Giannis is it. Giannis is the automatic one. If you add him to a New York Knicks roster, then people are going to be calling Tom Thibodeau a championship coach. Just like they did Andy Reid in the NBA. Once he got a young superstar, before he got a young superstar, everybody was calling him a perennial loser. Or he's only a regular season coach. He will never win a championship in this league. Now the Walrus is the toast of the town. Multi-time championship coach. And I even said, you may not get here with Tom Thibodeau after his contract. If he doesn't, if we don't get a player of substance like a superstar, and he has he get a 50-win season and another like 50 or 48 high 40 seasons, and he doesn't win during the time before his contract is over, they're not resigning him. They're going to move him up into the front office. I said that first. They're going to give him a front office position. His records is going to be too good for you to dismiss him. So they're going to make it easier by the end. He's going to be tired and worn out or whatever have you, but he's with friends. And they're going to be forced to make a move in order to take it up another step. They're going to open up the coaching search, but ultimately they're going to settle on Johnny Bryant. So Tom Thibodeau will be in the front office. Johnny Bryant is going to be the coach. And by then, we'll have strung together, we'll have young players, if we don't get rid of them, who are now experienced and probably have accomplished something at this point in the league. One of our young players will probably secure most improved player, but whatever. Or we may flip them for that superstar. And then it'll be Johnny Bryant's, the coach of that team, who's going to be knocking on the championship door for the next, hopefully 3 to 4 years would be our window. But none of us know. So you may be right, I may be right, we will see. But what I do know is I'm going to enjoy watching this team because they compete. They bring it 90% of the nights. We're now looking at players who serve as a mismatch many times. I used to enjoy watching Patrick Ewing, even from the point of tip-off at the game, because it almost seemed like every time we won a tip-off, we won the game. Anytime Patrick Ewing went into a game, he was 9 times out of 10 a mismatch for the other team. The only exception was when we played David Robinson, when we played Shaq, when we played Hakeem. You know that he was the underdog in those matchups. Not David Robinson. That was kind of like a, what do they call it? Where it was equal. So, shout out to you. You may end up being right, but we will see. Okay? I'm gonna hit one more, and then I'm gonna jump back because I don't want to be on here for too long. I'll circle back around as well. AP also says sometimes it's best to stay quiet. Everybody knew the New York Knicks wanted to draft Steph Curry. Absolutely. Dave Smith also says Knicks reached their ceiling last year with this regime. We're gonna have to see, brother. I don't agree though. Dave Smith also says Magic, Pacers, Hornets, Pistons are all improving by leaps and bounds very quickly. Knicks are cap maxed out with 3-year window to win and with no stars wanting to come play for Tibbs. Bro, we will see. Dave Smith also says, this is finally the season that will expose the huge flaws of Leon, Rose, and Tibbs. I'm glad that you're looking forward to it. Dave Smith says, Knicks YouTube media are full of company men afraid to tell the truth about the Knicks. Sad. Shout out to you. We will see. We will see. We will see. Friend or foe, we want the smoke. You bring in the smoke. But it's got to be tough being out there all alone. And if you're out there all alone and you're right, kudos to you. Kudos to you. But I love watching this team play. APAP says 1977 Gen X. Shout out to you, my brother. Shout out to you. Big Tasker Hand says, man down strap season 100%. Shout out to my guy David. Man, y'all live in these comments right now. So I'm gonna jump off there real quick. I want to get to these other points, man. Y'all doing good. I appreciate the engagement. My number 4 point, man, let's talk about the Hoop Collective. Since Dave Smith comes in with shots fired, guns are blazing, the smoke is still coming off the barrel of his strap.
Hey, yo.
Yo, I don't know. I didn't think of another word. But I want to talk about the article, not the article, but Brian Windhorst has a podcast called The Hoop Collective. You know, shout out to Brian Windhorst. Not a favorite of mine, but shout out to him. You know, he is a source. You know, he has a podcast, I think, with one of the writers that I think he's a Dallas writer, and there's another guy. But they were talking about predicting the top 10 rankings going into next season. And the Hoop Collective actually said the New York Knicks are going to be ranked number 6 overall in NBA at the start of next season. Number 6. Now I got to double back and take a look because I'm not sure if he said in the Eastern Conference or the overall NBA. I believe he was talking about the overall NBA. But if he's not, I'm saying it. I'm saying the overall NBA. Number 6. And they had the Cleveland Cavaliers in front of us. For those of you who don't know, Brian Windhorst is a homer for the Cleveland Cavaliers. He was there to cover LeBron James, along with Chris Broussard as well, along with Nick Wright. All of them are Cleveland. LeBron James started with him when he was a puppy, you know, covering him, and everything is pro-Cleveland, anti-everywhere else. It was the same way with Wilbon in Chicago. It was the same way with Mike Greeny in Chicago, you know, and who else? They covering the Bulls when the Bulls were on top, right? So you would, of course, expect Windhorst to say, Cleveland, although we smacked them and we washed them in the playoffs. They did make moves to get better, you know, but of course they're going to put them number 5. But needless to say, once again, it's a testimony to what I was saying about how not only the NBA, but how the rest of the league and the people who are following the league, and it's going against what David Smith just said. Bro, the league, we're no longer a secret. We're not. And say what you will, they gotta respect us. They know the type of team you're getting. A team that has been proving everybody wrong. 2 out of 3 of the seasons that this regime and this head coach has been at the helm. Simple. And some people will point at Obi Toppin, you know, and his comments on the way out the door, you know, to Obi. Shout out to Obi Toppin. Wish nothing but success for you. Some people will point at Evan Fournier's recent comments, you know, about Tom Thibodeau and how he was treated and how he looked at D-Rose and said, what are we doing here? And you guys will act like you will completely ignore the times where we did see Derrick Rose on the floor, and we was just like, damn, did he look like he, you know, lost a little bit of a step? Now, of course, at his age, you got to have a rhythm. You know, your legs got to be under you. All of that happens when you do get regular playing time. So you got to consider that, especially when you're thinking about a former MVP. But we all saw the tape with Fournier. Come on now. Just like Cam. Everybody's just like, oh, Cam with the Lakers now. He's going to get unlocked. Everybody saw them, both of them getting burned on the back door. How many hell we still see it with current players. Jalen Brunson is not immune to that criticism, those defensive lapses. Julius Randle, those defensive lapses. But we saw it, hella serious with Fournier. So everybody who talks about what Fournier could have contributed had he been given minutes, he probably would have cost us the game equally, because on the defensive side of the end, he would have gave those points right back. He would have gave them right back. But you can't ignore the fact that the NBA now has recognized they don't see it as a house of cards. They don't see it as a fluke. They see now, because you got a player like Jalen Brunson on the team, and they've seen his impact on this team, on the Julius Randle, and because of the front office's moves or non-moves, how they've positioned themselves to be able to, make sure that they are equipped if an opportunity presents itself and a star becomes available. This is what happens. People start identifying you as one of the top teams, and this is all we've asked for the last 20 years. We weren't here. David, bro, you don't remember the miserable years that were just like 5 years ago? I laugh. It's comical every time I see Iman Shumpert in an interview. And how he was talking about, Knick fans are booing me. Well, listen, man, let's come on now. That was your rookie season, we understand. But outside of that 2013 year, you was part of some of the worst teams. Q Rich, part of some of the worst teams. Comical. Crazy. So, once again, I'm not going to spend too much time on this piece, but listen, even these writers who continuously laughed, and, to Windhorse's credit, he's seen the direction that the New York Knicks is going into, and he's tried to attach his cart to our wagon. Just like Perk did. He's been saying, he's like, I'm telling you, there will be a superstar who's going to sign with the New York Knicks. He's been on that wagon, I'd say, the last 2 years. Since we, took over the streets of in front of Madison Square Garden. Windhorse he's just like, I see where they're going, and I'm listening to the rumblings. They're going to get a superstar, and it's close. So I give him credit. He has been on that as well. But that's why it's important to be patient. That's why I'm so happy that the New York Knicks organization no longer listens to Knicks fans. That's why I appreciate it. When they no longer listen to Knicks fans. James Dolan had his ear to the streets 5 or 10 years ago. He was making personnel decisions. He was making franchise-altering decisions based on the fan base. Somebody was advising him, listen, you got to listen to your fans. You got to listen to your customer. Or maybe he applied the same principles in terms of business to the team. You don't do that. Customer ain't always right. You need to get good. You need to get good personnel. You need to get good executives to execute. So that's why I laugh at people who say company men. His company is thriving right now. The man's family is a billionaire family. He's a billionaire himself. And I know he didn't get that from the mud. But in terms of, and I don't know his business like that. I'm just talking about current state of the franchise. Current state of the franchise is where it's at because they didn't listen to fans. Period. So yeah, shout out to the Hoop Collective. Shout out to them talking about the New York Knicks, top 5, top 6. And I'm looking forward to seeing, I'm looking forward to seeing what this New York Knicks organization does. Right out the final 2 years or the final year or whatever, however much is left on Tibbs' contract. I think it's the same length of time left on Leon's contract. That in and of itself is a change that this organization isn't accustomed to. Letting the people that you hire have the duration of their time to get the job done. The way that New York Knicks fans be recommending we move with this team, if you led an organization that way, that organization would fail. It would fail. You give no benefit of doubt to employees. You give no time for a process and a plan to be enacted and a process to take place. You're going to cut in the middle of a plan an employee or an executive, and you're going to bring somebody else in who you expect either to have their own plan or to pick up where someone left off, having no previous knowledge of the reasons why things had started that way. And then when you get rid of that person, you got to get rid of the people that person hired. Or you keep those people, you bring in someone new who has allegiance to the previous. It's this whole thing that you guys are expected to do, not knowing that there's ramifications that come with it. There was literally a ripple effect to you saying, all right, I just want, you're saying you want to move on from the coach and the front office. Like, how crazy is that? How crazy? And you talking, come on, you talking about Detroit? You talking about Detroit? When you look at you can only look as far as the Sixers. And you can talk about whether or not that process was a failure. And you talking about Detroit is on the come up. Come on, man. I don't know, bro. People call me delusional, call me a company man. Then look, so you anti-success. You pointing at the Magic, and you pointing at Detroit. And we already walked those paths without getting number one picks. Without getting, I mean, we have the third pick was the highest that we had in recent years. Both of those organizations had a number one pick. Come on, man, ain't no comparison, bro. If they're nothing else, they should be further along than where they are. What's Cade Cunningham? Yeah, don't get me started, bro. I'll go with you. But last point, before I let y'all out of here, and I get back to the comments. Listen, the backup power forward position. Backup power forward position. But there ain't no power shortage. What do y'all think? What do y'all think we're gonna do with Jericho Sims? What do y'all think we're gonna do with Jericho Sims? And I already hear a couple of y'all like, same thing we did with him last season. Yo, you think he gonna get minutes? Yo, you already know Tom Thibodeau ain't playing him. He played him sparingly. You see what he did where he completely went away from him for long stretches of the season, and he took him out, or he didn't even put him in. He went to a smaller style of player, whatever have you. Tom Thibodeau has been here now for what, 3-4 years? Tom Thibodeau has been in this league as a head coach, for the Minnesota Timberwolves and for Chicago. We already seen it with the New York Knicks. Tom Thibodeau believes that you have to earn your stripes. Unless you're a complete standout as a rookie. He believes that the veterans are gonna, especially if it's no stark difference in terms of performance, and you almost got to be perfect as a young player, whether you're in your first or second year. You almost got to be perfect. By the time you get to year 3, if you're lucky enough to get to the 3rd year with Tom Thibodeau, you are now his veteran. So this is why I laugh at people where it's just like, listen, we got to get a backup power forward. We're short at the backup power forward. He's shown you when playing Hartenstein and Mitch together, or Jericho with Hartenstein, or Jericho with Mitch. He's shown you that is a clear mismatch for a lot of teams. That's going to be his plan. Jericho will see if they go without making a move. You can guarantee none of those people they recently signed are going to be power forward. You think he's going to trust them? You think he's going to give them time over Jericho? Listen, the time that Jericho has been here, it's about developing trust with Tom Thibodeau. Jericho has yet another summer. Now, I know he complained about not being able to show what he can do offensively, and Mitch did the same thing. And fans, y'all be bugging, y'all be killing me talking about we need scoring from the 5. Listen, recently on the Gilbert Arenas podcast, I got to be paying attention because you get some pieces of knowledge from there. They were interviewing Brennan Haywood. Brennan Haywood was the starting center on the championship team for the Dallas Mavericks. And he said when he came to the team, he did have an ability to score the ball. He showed that. I believe he was in Washington previously. All those years showed the ability to score. And when he came to the Dallas Mavericks, his role was to block shot and rebound. That was it. And he said there was one time in the game when he got traded to Dallas, and during that championship run, he said he looked off Dirk Nowitzki and he put up a hook shot and he made it. And he said when he got to the sidelines, Rick Carlisle came up to him and told him, he said, don't you ever look off Dirk Nowitzki. He said, if you have the basketball and you rebound the basketball, unless it's directly putting it back up, you pass the ball to him. He said, you get your points off of rebounds in the paint. Don't be putting up that broken jump shot. He said he was so taken aback that he was just like, my jump shot ain't broken. He was just like, but basically he told him, you're here to play this role. So I'm laughing because this is how Knicks fans can be spoiled. And this is how much knowledge of the game you can expect from a Knicks fan who talks about, I want Mitch to go more into his bag. I need Mitch to do this, that, and the third. Bro, every player has been given what their role on the team is. If you are not satisfied with your role, then we need to give you the Opie Toppin plane ticket, and we got to put you in a situation where your role is different. But for this team, your role is to block shots, rebound, run the floor, get the lob when you can, and be a beast on the offensive boards. That's your role. And to play great defense, that's your role. You're the anchor of the defense. We got people who are doing the job. We paid you to do this role. You can work on your game all you want. Don't switch up. When the moment you trade it, then you could break that bag out, and then you could make the New York Knicks regret every moment they didn't believe that you had the offensive bag that you're saying that you did. But in the meantime, you have a role. A lot of the times, it's so funny. I remember when LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers would come in, and it was shortly after 2010. And he sat next to Spike Lee one day, and they were watching the game, and I think he was injured. And he's like, look at them. He said, nobody knows what they're supposed to be doing. Everybody is touching the ball. Everybody's taking shots. And I do think that was during the D'Antoni years. Because Al Harrington recently was interviewed, and he said him and Larry Hughes, when they were on the Knicks, they actually came up to D'Antoni and said, are we ever going to practice defense? And he said D'Antoni looked offended. And it was just like, what we're doing is a system and it works, this, that, and the third. And he was just like, yo, bro, but he said there was no time they practiced defense. And I remember LeBron came there one day and he's watching the game from the sidelines and he says, look, this is why they're not winning. Nobody knows their role. This is why every time LeBron goes to a team, Chris Bosh is turned to a jump shooter. Because we need you to be that for us to get to where we need to go. That's why he went to Miami and Wade had to acquiesce and say, listen, bruh, this, you score, I score, you score, I score, that's not going to work. You were the big dog. I'll play whatever role I need to play to support. Teams that win and they compete for championships have roles that are assigned to them. You got to be the best at the role that you're given. Master that before you ask for anything else. Master making your free throws before you ask to get shots in an offense. Master that. Master playing defense before you ask to get time in the playoffs, Evan Fournier. Dominate your matchup in practice with Julius Randle before you talk about you not getting minutes, Obi Toppin. Obi the ops right now. And when Obi did get minutes, there was rarely a time that I saw anything from Obi that was that much better than Julius. Come on, man. Sometimes it's almost weird how I hear Knicks fans talk about Obi. And sometimes it's almost weird. It's borderline weird. It's borderline weird.
Hey, yo.
Because I'm like, yo, listen, man, he should have, you take the spots if you better than the veterans. Julius was just like, yo, I don't know what you've been told. I'm the Black Mamba in New York. So I think for the power forward, the backup power forward, I think we have that player on our team already. I think that challenge has been given to Jericho Sims. He's obviously been in the lab. He's been chilling. I think that he has some things he's been given to work on this offseason. And I fully expect for him to get a lot of minutes at the power forward spot. So we'll see. His development, I think, is there. His familiarity with the team and the schemes is something that Thibodeau is going to rely on. Another year where you have a team that's cohesive. They know each other's game. They're familiar with a point guard for the second year. They're going into a season for the second year with a point guard now. A legitimate all-star point guard. And once again, I think just knowing your role and knowing where you're supposed to be in the schemes is going to be what's favored in terms of who backs up the power forward. Or you just may get players that have, 48 minute games per game. Lord knows. I hope that don't happen.
This bitch.
Better not do that. So let me go to the comments real quick, man. Then I'm gonna tie this thing up. I'm wrap this thing up. I thank y'all for rocking with me. It's been fun. I wanted to hop on here, just go over a couple of these topics, man, and see what was going on. So shout out to you all. Good Lord, y'all are in the chat. So let me see what we got here. My guy Dripball, what's good, my brother? Says salute. Shout out to Knicks Deli. Shout out to you as well. APAP also says, if Tom gets promoted to the front office, he still gets a ring. As an executive, he doesn't have to win as a coach. Very true, very true. My bad. Good correction. Shout out to Dave Smith, says 3 of 5 Knicks starters are from prior front office. That could be true too, but still they were able to grow with this organization. But good point as well, David. David says, Dolan doesn't know how to build an NBA contender. Listen, we will see. We will see. It's not his job to build it. It's the people who he hires' job to build it. Tibbs is not in the same league as Jerry Sloan. We see how far Jerry Sloan got. Shout out to Jerry Sloan. APAP says, coach can do so much. It's the players who got to make it happen. Shout out to you, APAP. Come on now. Come on now. Shout out. That's a New York shout out to you. APAP also says, the Knicks are the team the league likes to talk about. Look how bad the Sacramento Kings have been, and you never heard anything about it. 100%. APAP also says, I believe Dolan's father, Charlie, is how HBO came around. Created the concept of a 24-hour movie channel. Look at you dropping history. Dropping history. Yeah, man. So that's all that I have. I wanted to hop on here, man. Those are a couple of good topics. If you're just joining me, we talked a little bit about Brock Aller and the amount of respect that we're starting to hear NBA executives give to him, and the possibility of poaching him for their front offices around the league is out there. So shout out to Brock Aller. Shout out to the New York Knicks for making that hire and poaching him from Cleveland. We talked a little bit about the NBA's focus on the New York Knicks now and trying to elevate the talent that we have. So it started with Julius Randle and in the All-Star game and Obi in the slam dunk contest. Then we had Grimes in the Rising Stars game and Julius once again making an All-Star team and even Jericho Sims being invited to the slam dunk contest. And then we had the selection to represent the country of Jalen Brunson as the starting point guard for FIBA and Josh Hart joining him on that team. And even with Bridges over in Brooklyn, that New York market, NBA is trying to capture it. They got upcoming stars in these markets now. And in the selection of Quentin Grimes to the select team as a possible replacement for an injury to the FIBA team. So that's something that can't be overlooked. We also talked a little bit about the New York Knicks as Zen masters and the fact that even though we haven't made many moves, there is a calming feeling over the New York fan base in the organization that we're doing the right thing and we're in a good space right now, and that we at least are seen as being a competent, solid, winning organization, in the eyes of our peers. We talked a little bit about the Hoop Collective and Brian Windhorst ranking the Knicks in the top 6 going into next season in terms of NBA teams. And we also talked about Leon's silence and the fact that people are mad, big mad, that he don't want to speak to the media, but he continues to make good decisions with this franchise. And last but not least, we talked about there being no power shortage at the backup power forward position, because I believe that Tom Thibodeau is going to give Jericho Sims an opportunity to show what he can do in that spot, thus being height, providing height mismatches for opposite teams and making us still a little bit more different versus teams in the NBA. So shout out to everyone. Don't forget to follow me on all the socials. Hit me up on Twitter at Knicks Deli, Instagram, the same thing, at Knicks Deli on Instagram, YouTube, of course, at Knicks Deli, and even on Reddit, you can catch me on Reddit at Knicks Deli as well, okay? Don't forget, do me a favor, like and subscribe. Share this video if you want. I appreciate all of you completely for rocking with me, always supporting the channel. Shout out to you. Yes. All right, and we're going to wrap it up. We got one more comment. David Smith, man, I appreciate you, bro. It's not always going to be agreement here, so your voice is always heard. Everybody's voice is going to be heard here at Knicks Deli.
Everybody eats at Knicks Deli.
All right, so David Smith says, can't wait to see Pacers versus Knicks. Toppin versus Randall, like heavyweight fight, must-see TV. Shout out to David. I love that too. Listen, it can't be a rivalry if both teams aren't good. And I love, it's a rivalry when there's a storyline. There is a storyline there. Halliburton is now professing that, Knick fans said my shot was broken. He's doing that for a reason. He's doing that to have a reason to say this is why we don't like the Knicks. And Obi don't like the Knicks. He's doing that for the storyline. They're building a fight up, like David is suggesting. So now Obi got a reason to go back and get wins in the Garden. And Halliburton is trying to make it clear that he got a reason to go back and get wins in the Garden. But guess what? It ain't your parents' New York Knicks. Okay, we ain't gonna sit there and just let you drop. We already got a player who's proven he could keep a starting spot over your power forward, and that's Julius motherflipping Randle. Shout out to Julius. Obviously, that injury was a little bit worse than we all thought. It takes a lot to be able to tough through an injury and get treatment and still try to play through the injury, man. I mean, it means a lot when your mentor was Kobe Bryant, bro. And somebody mentioned it, whether it was on Reddit or social media, and I completely agree. I think there's going to be a day when Julius Randle is no longer with the team. The New York Knicks fans are going to appreciate everything that he did. He's already scribing his numbers and his name in New York Knicks record books. So I think it's going to be one of those situations where you don't really appreciate what you have until you don't have it anymore. Then that's going to be Julius Randle. I would love to see him just adjust and be willing to do what he needs to do to win. We know that it could be done. We saw it done with Paul Pierce. Paul Pierce was known as one of the top offensive players in the league, but not a winner. Until he got Ray Allen, until he got Kevin Garnett, and then they brought in not Doc Rivers, because Doc Rivers was close to being fired before they got those players. But brought a Tibbs in, when you brought Tibbs in, and you had Kevin Garnett to ground your defensive principles, and everybody else bought into that system, he changed the narrative. Paul Pierce started locking people down. He started being known as a defensive player. And then they won a championship. So shout out to that matchup. I look forward to busting. I look forward to busting the Pacers behind. Forward to it. All right? But I'm going to get out of here. I appreciate y'all. I really do. I really do. Listen, same thing applies to life that applies to our team. If there is no struggle, there is no progress. All right? I want y'all to take care. Enjoy your weekend. Stay cool in this weather. And keep in mind, same thing applies to life that applies to our team. There's no struggle, there's no progress. But if nothing else,
everybody eats here at Knicks Deli.
All right? Listen, I'm out. You have a good weekend. Peace.